Our next guests have been making their mark as musicians, songwriters, and dedicated activists for 40 years and have been a beacon for multiple generations of fans who have proclaimed, quote, Indigo Girls saved my life. Along the way, they have battled misogyny, homophobia, and harsh cultural climate chastising them for not fitting into a female pop star mold. They are here at South by Southwest for a featured session and the subjects of a new fantastic documentary called It's Only Life After All. Please welcome Grammy-winning artists Amy Ray, Emily Saliers, and joining them in the studio today are the film's director, Alexandria Bombach, along with the co-founder of their organization, Honor the Earth, and a former Green Party vice presidential candidate, Winona LaDuke, who is also part of the film. Ooh. Indigo Girls, welcome. Give it up, give it up, give it up.
Thank you.
All right, studio audience.
Yeah, studio audience. We brought them just for you. First and foremost, I have to say thank you, Amy, on behalf of the viewing public for lugging around the 15-pound camera in the 80s. I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. I remember.
Sometimes it was a heavy one.
It was a heavy one, and you decided to record the journey back in the day. And this treasure trove of videos, yes, children, there were videos back in the day, has given Alexandria this amazing collection that allows us to see the journey. What inspired you during the whole journey to say, I want to record?
Well, first of all, my dad carried the camera for the very early years. Yeah. I mean, and it was, a lot of stuff.
I remember, yeah.
And he was always an archivist and took videos and film my whole life. I grew up on Super 8 and a million slideshows every weekend in the family room. And so I just carried on the tradition. And when he died, he left boxes of all the video he had taken of us. So I had that, and then I had all the stuff that I took and stuff that I handed the camera to people, as we were traveling, and they would take stuff, and I just kept track of the film. And our manager Russell had a lot of footage as well. So we had a lot of stuff to pick from.
And when you have those boxes, I remember the boxes. We had the boxes of videotapes. You're like, we're at this stage of our career, of our life, where we want to take this treasure of our life, and we want to hand this responsibility to a director. And the choice of having Alexandria come on to say, you know what, here's this treasure. Go make an 1.5-hour movie and please do a good job. Why her, and how did that trust develop?
Well, actually, I didn't know there was that trove in the basement for a while. I think we first met in 2017, the fall of 2017, and we didn't start shooting until January of 2019. Just because I was releasing a film when we met, my previous film. And then it wasn't until August of 2019 that she revealed the basement, and it was mixed emotions of absolute glee and terror to see all the
stuff. Because as a filmmaker, this is candy.
Oh,
this is manna from heaven.
I often described it as drowning in honey. It was absolutely incredible, but just very intimidating, and just so much good stuff. It's hard when you have so much good stuff to decide what to put in.
And to distill a life and a career, and such a storied career.
But it was a real gift, because not a lot of films don't have that. So
and Winona, I want to get you into this as a gift to the Indigo Girls, and we're going to talk about that. You're in the movie as well. And did you know, while all these people were filming you throughout the years, that, fast forward, I'll also be in this as part of the journey, as a significant part of the journey.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that they're going to make a film, but I remember a lot of hours on a bus and a lot of grand adventures. And I knew she was filming it all. And I did know that we were doing some pretty cool things, but I didn't know everybody else would get to see them.
And to see it and really reflect on it. And I think the arc of the band, it says so much about the arc of America. Because we're looking back now, Indigo Girls were part of the consciousness as a child of the 80s and 90s. And y'all had to go through so much that now you look at it and you're like, oh, that's amazing. Ooh, that's cringe. Ooh, this is where we've come so far. Ooh, we still have a ways to go. And I want to talk about that, but first we got to take the DeLorean back. And thank you for recognizing the old man. Right? Yes, that was for you too. You got it, so it gave me hope. I just assumed, Indigo Girls, Amy, Emily, they probably met each other in college, but the movie shows elementary school.
Yeah.
Take us back to elementary school. You're like, I'm going to be friends with her.
Well, my family moved down from Connecticut. I was 10 or 11, and then we moved to the neighborhood near where Amy lived, and she went to the elementary school, Laurel Ridge Elementary School, and we were kind of, because we were a year apart, we weren't hanging out in elementary school, but we were
cool kid.
aware of each other.
She was the cool kid. I was the
Amy says that, but
younger, a year younger. That's
Oh, yeah,
big.
yeah.
It's big.
and I had a little band in 7th grade called the Blue Skies, me and 2 other friends, and we used to play songs in the cafeteria. So, and we were aware of each other's music. I knew that Amy played guitar, because you were playing at that point, weren't you? I mean,
Yeah,
you
but-
started in 3rd. Yeah.
You know,
And then we,
In what grade?
folk songs, 4th.
Wow.
yeah.
I mean, just one more time to hear that.
Yeah.
I had a band, 4th grade, 5th grade.
As one does. As one does.
Well, I called it a band. 3 girls and 1 guitar.
That's a
and-
band.
Yeah,
That's a band.
that is a band.
What I was trying to illustrate was that I was not cool, but quite a dork, based on the songs we were singing.
Dorks
and
are in right now. This is a safe
Thank
space
God.
for dorks.
That is
Thank
the
God.
cool
Things come around. But so then high school started in 8th grade for us, so we went straight from elementary school to high school, and then when we both joined the chorus, that's when we became very, very good friends. And then we had an AP English teacher, Ellis Lloyd, who was a mentor and then just an inspiration for us. He encouraged us to put a set of songs together because we had started going over to Amy's basement and learning whatever we wanted to learn and writing our own songs actually at that time as well. And Ellis encouraged us. He encouraged us along the whole way, but initially to do that, put that first group of set of songs together, and then we made like a homemade cassette tape called Blue Food, and it was one day after the next for us. We didn't have any grand plans.
But it's the power of teachers, and especially AP
Oh my
English
gosh.
teachers. Hats off to my AP English teachers. Just someone telling you, you got something. You got something. Just try that out. And Emily, and when you all were doing this, as one does in 3rd grade and 4th grade, and you evolve and you keep practicing and you become a band, and you have someone say, hey, you got something. When was it when you knew, not only do we have something, we should actually release this to the world. We can make a living off this.
We were so young. We didn't think of things that way. We were more like, this is fun. We can get all of our friends together. We can go have fun. I mean, it was, when you're that young, it really is. That's the important part at that point in our career, because we didn't have YouTube and sort of ways of getting stuff out there. It was
There
more
was
like,
no YouTube, no TikTok back in those days.
it was gathering in your garage for real, or your basement, or your friend's house, or your English room, teacher's room, and playing songs together. So I think the first time we felt legitimate, I don't know, when was that?
Well, even when we got club gigs, which were thrilling, there'd be 4 people, and that was my parents and Amy's parents. So there
But that's
wasn't
huge.
like,
That's huge that the parents always come and support. I think people forget
but
that.
it wasn't like the bartender was like, oh my God, they have it, whatever it is.
Let me
but
just
then-
stop. I won't give anyone shots.
But we were also a working band, and I think that we realized that we could have momentum in having more people come to listen to the music at Little 5 Points, right, Amy? I mean, when
Yeah, Little 5 Points Pub in
in
Atlanta.
Atlanta, and then we started to play like 3 nights a week. We were like the weekend house band, and I forget what the capacity was there,
Like
but
an
then,
85, yeah, it was
Yeah.
a couple hundred people or
Yeah.
something.
But I have
So
to
that
bring,
was a
I have
big
to bring
deal.
up this trivia point that I've been talking about, because doing the research and watching this, 1990, Grammys recognize you. So you're here, you're there, boom. Best New Artist. Do you remember who you're up with?
Sure, Milli Vanilli.
And who else? Tone Loc?
Oh, Tone Loc, that's right. I forgot.
Nina Cherry,
Nina Cherry.
Yeah.
And one more, I'm forgetting.
Soul to Soul.
Soul to Soul.
Not that
Good
I've thought
memory.
about
No. And Indigo Girls. And Emily, who won in 1990?
Milli Vanilli.
And when you heard that, and not that you've thought about it at all, was a part of you like, okay, I'm just happy to be nominated? Or was it like,
I mean,
looked
honestly,
over.
of course, I wanted to win. I don't know how Amy felt. I wanted to win. But I wasn't disappointed that we didn't, because I couldn't even believe we were there. It was so surreal. The whole thing was so surreal at that point, the early days. So whoever won was great, and it was exciting. And those guys actually suffered a lot for it. And to think that lip syncing could cause that kind of outrage is almost laughable now, but it wasn't for them. But it's an interesting story, and they never gave the Grammy away. Maybe posthumously they will one day. I
and
don't
so
know.
that was when you made it, and like I said, there was like Indigo Girls was always part of the consciousness. It was just always there, and it came into comedy, for better or worse, and it came into, we'll talk about that, and it came into just people knew. And it was grassroots, and you had fans, and you didn't have the TikTok, but word of mouth spread. And I'm sitting here, I'm looking at you, Alexandria, and you seem much younger than me, and I'm trying to figure out, when did you discover their music?
I was 12, a very typical story. I discovered them at camp. My favorite camp counselor had many of their CDs, and it was in the summers I would spend 10 weeks at camp as a kid and just completely fell in love with that music, and it totally collided with, finding myself, as a young 12-year-old and realizing more identity stuff, and so it all kind of collided at the same time. But that's a very typical story, especially the camp part, I think. Yeah. Can be a very typical part, but yeah.
Indigo Girls in camp.
Yeah.
Sorry, the camps.
I've heard it a lot, yeah.
And, speaking about discovering yourself in the movie, the journey of Indigo Girls, not just as artists, but as politically and culturally aware artists, the birth, the growth, that comes about thanks in part to Winona.
We can't exaggerate that.
Yeah.
Thanks in part to Winona.
And well, you know what? This is a safe space for earnestness and sentimentality. What is it about Winona that really just opened your minds and your hearts?
Start crying here.
You can cry. You can cry.
Don't cry. No, please do.
I think she's the smartest woman I know personally, and the most visionary, but the most visionary woman that I know personally, but also, I was going to say a patient mentor, but are you a patient mentor? Not really.
Well, 30 years.
She's been patient with us.
You just answered your question.
We're a 30-year-old organization that we founded 30 years ago, so that's like half my life, pretty much, and probably a little bit more than half their lives. I mean, it takes
Not
a lot of
that
times to
much
make
more.
change, Yeah, and so.
I mean,
And
when
you can't do it alone.
We heard Winona. We heard her speak at an Earth Day show, and we had been doing, more kind of mainstream stuff. It was all good work, and back then, a lot of the mainstream organizations did not have a lot of people of color on their boards.
Huh.
They do now.
And women, by the way.
And women.
Yeah.
Right.
And when we heard Winona speak, our brains just exploded. There was two big moments in my life. One when I heard Emily sing in harmony, and I was like, and then another when I heard Winona speak, and it was the same feeling. I was like, oh my God. Who is this person? I have to meet them. I made a beeline for backstage at Foxborough Stadium where she was, or arena, what was it? Stadium?
Stadium,
yeah.
That's where
Stadium?
we met formally.
Yeah, stadium, yeah.
Stadium. Anyway, and she was back there, and we just started talking, and I was just Emily and I were kind of like puppy dogs, tell us more, give us the, lowdown, and we wanted to work with her, because it's this ability to distill a lot of really hard information down to this nugget of truth and tell it to people in a way that's so compelling that you get everybody on board and they understand the vision too. They're not just on board because of the cult of personality. They're on board because it's true and they can see results. I mean, we were kind of like, wow, this is like a mission that can actually change things, to do environmental and cultural sustainability work through the lens of indigenous, sort of vision and Winona's lens, and how you put it all together and how you create allies and build collaborations and build a movement that's community-based over the decades to last decades. This wasn't like, hey, we'll do this for a few years. Because we're in it, for the long haul. So we're kind of like, this is the person that is in it too.
And much like the music, you all were ahead of the game by 30 years and didn't get the credit for it. Instead got the mockery for it. And Winona, you included, right? You were on top of intersectionality before it became a word. And so when you found these two allies...
What does that mean, intersectionality?
It's everything.
I was like, wait a second. My heart stopped for a second.
No, it's all converging together.
But when you saw these two white
She's
girls...
already doing it, she just doesn't know what it's called.
You got these two white girls from the South are coming up and talking to you where you're like, are you serious? Or did you know this would be a 30-year journey?
Okay, so, I actually heard their music, I lived up on James Bay, which is at the bottom of Hudson Bay, in this little village that was about to get a dam project up from it, And I was like, so it was hammer and a nail. So I heard this, and I don't know why that one, but I think it was a lot of women that were moms living with, trying to hang on there in the brush. And you're right? Okay, we're going to do this, you know. And so then, but anyway, they came to this concert for us, you know. That's when I first saw them at the Beacon. Wasn't that the Beacon
Yeah,
video?
the James Bay.
Yeah, for
Camp
James
the
Bay.
Band
And I was
Jam.
like, well, look at these people, like, care about what's happening to us. And we were running this campaign against the New York Power Authority, which had these giant dams up in Canada. As they're basically flooding out all these people. And, you know, what we realized and had realized is that, you know, these people, like a lot of our indigenous people, we live where the wild things are. That's what you actually want to protect. But that's like way out there. And nobody knows what's going on. So you had to go like right to the middle. You know, and that's what we were doing. And so we were trying to get the New York Power Authority to cancel its contracts for these big dams up in Canada. And they were the largest contract, the New York Power Authority, and we won. We won because we brought it right to the city. We sent, you know, Greenpeace, a bunch of other organizations helped us do a big outreach. But, you know, my proudest moment was like the New York Times called us a ragtag band of activists. I was like, oh yeah, we'll take that one. You know, but music and people, frontline people, really was powerful.
Music, people, a multicultural coalition, fusing it all together. Now that the kids are all talking about it, you all were doing it when it wasn't fashionable and there was a target on your back. And speaking about being ahead of the curve and not getting the credit, you had to deal with misogyny and homophobia. And you're watching the documentary and you see these SNL jokes, these casual jokes at the expense of Indigo Girls. And you're like, ooh, that doesn't land right. And then you see Ellen's show, you're like, ooh, that doesn't land right. And you say in the documentary, I think it was Amy who said that homophobia held you all back. And how did it, I think people need to know, how did it hold you all back? Because you were kind of out. I think people knew. And as a result of that, you were the butt of jokes. You weren't celebrated.
Well, by the time we were the butt of jokes, we were really out because we came out publicly in like 91. Okay, 91. Alexandria, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
And for those listening who are young, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't do like a coming out party, like big celebrity, like press release thing, like some people were doing. We just kind of were doing an interview in one time, and just we answered the question, and then it became okay. You know, this is a thing. But yeah, then it started to be. Yeah, I think what happens is I think people like SNL and Ellen, God bless her, you know, they don't even know they're doing it at the expense, and they don't know it's homophobia, and they don't know it's internalized homophobia. And they're going along with the laughs, you know, the cultural laughs, and it feels good to have people laugh at you, at your jokes, until you realize there's like an underbelly to all of it, which is like they're laughing because it's homophobia, and you're a trope, you know, and you're the butt of a joke. And at that point, then you kind of start reflecting on like, God, maybe this did hold us back. Because you can never, I mean, the problem with being an artist is that you can't tell if it's like, is your material not good enough? Are you too gay? Are you a woman? Are you too old? Are you too political? What is it? Like you can't.
And you were all of that in the 90s.
And sometimes you can't tell if it's like you're not writing a good enough song or you're not the right person singing it. And when you don't know that, you're always, you know, a little bit off center and like flustered a little bit, and you can't quite get your balance. I think the one thing we've learned is just to try to hold our head up, you know.
And you all have. And
well,
the music
sort of.
transcends, and you're being justly rewarded. And I think where you can drop the mic is you get the last word and the last song. I wish I had more time, but I have a minute left. And you have fans, and we have a loyal crew here. And there's someone here in this room who has seen you 20 times and knows your second favorite, favorite band. Indigo Girls, it's her favorite band. Number 2 is U2, so better than U2.
Wait, no, that's impossible.
No. Diane right there has seen you 20 times.
Hey,
and Diane
Cheers,
says her favorite song is Fugitive.
Oh.
And I know I'm putting you on the spot. You could say no to me. But taking us out, can we do a few verses of Fugitive?
Wait, what? What?
May we?
We don't have a guitar.
No, just stop.
Anybody got a guitar? Okay.
That's a little hard to
Play
do.
it?
Dan, you can do it? Just.
Do you want to sing it?
I don't even know what key to do it in.
I have faith. Anything.
That's a hard
But
ask.
you did spot on. People just sing through their whole concerts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fans are incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, incredibly special.
Okay, I'll sing Amy's part. I'm harboring a fugitive. defector of a kind. She lives in my soul.
Yeah, see?
Drinks of my wine.
Hide yourself from me. I said, hide yourself for me. What's the harmony?
Okay, I'll sing the harmony now.
Hide yourself for me.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Listen,
you have to have a guitar for us if you're going to
listen.
have to play
My
next
mother
time.
says I'm a stubborn little shit. Well, we got it done. We got it done. Thank you for being stubborn. Thank you for being bold. Thank you for your voice. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for filming it. Thank you for making this movie. And thank you for making Diane very, very happy.
It's our pleasure.
It's Only Life After All. The documentary premieres today, March 14th at 5:15 at the Zach Theater, and will screen again on March 16th at the Alamo Lamar, and on March 18th at the Austin Film Society Cinema. And these interviews are streaming live during the event on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/SXSW. I'm your host, Wajat Ali, and as always, thank you for watching.